Tommy. How's it going there today?
Good, guys. How's it going?
Great. Thank you very much. The first thing I want to know, does anyone call you Tom, or is it just Tommy to everybody?
Only when they're mad at me. Tom? Hey, Tom?
There you go.
Actually, my mom used to just call me Tom when she was mad, but that's about it.
And I'm calling you Tommy because I'm not mad at you today.
Thank
And
you.
congratulations on getting some great new music out there. I've only heard 2 tracks from Andro. Is the whole thing done and mastered and the artwork's complete?
Yep, everything's done. It sounds insane. And I released 2 singles at once so that people could really get a feel for the vibe of the record, because one side of the record is completely female energy driven and the other side of the record is male energy driven. So I figured releasing 2 at once would give people a little taste of what what the whole thing's about.
Sure. And Push Push represents some of that great female energy. How'd you encounter her?
I've been following her for a while. She has done some pretty amazing stuff. She's on my list of collaborators. I've got an ongoing list of people that I would love to work with. So she was one of them. And when I wrote the track, she was the first one that came to mind. I was like, oh my God, she will absolutely kill this track.
Right.
And I sent it to her and she's like, I'm on my way. So that's kind of how a lot of the collaborations happened. Music is written and in my mind, I'd be like, whoa, this person would just kill this. This is perfect for them. And that's kind of how the whole process has happened, pretty organically.
And I see you've got Josh Todd on the album and Lucas Rossi, kind of all over the place in the best of kind of ways. Was it that you reach out to somebody and went, I got something for you, and then you'd send ideas back and forth, or was it mostly sent finished tracks?
Pretty much finished tracks. I mean, Josh, I can't say he's like on the record. He's not singing or anything on the track. He left me a really fucked up voice message one day. and it's such a great segue into a track called Caviar on a Paper Plate. It's a Mickey Avalon track. And I was like, hey Josh, can I use this? Because this just sets the track up perfectly. So he's just kind of a little, I guess, interlude, whatever. But as far as like Lucas, I've always loved Lucas. I mean, we picked him in Rockstar Supernova because he was the best by far, and he came to me with this idea of doing a Prince cover, which interestingly enough, the song was really, it's called When You Were Mine. And it's a really kind of a fast poppy, like when you were mine. It's really up tempo. We slowed it down and made it so, I don't want to say dark. It's just super sexy. It's way, way beautiful. I'm really excited for people to hear that. And of course, he sings his ass off on it. And there's these beautiful high Prince-y falsetto things that are just like, oh my God, listen to that.
Right. The way that you met Lucas, as you mentioned, was Supernova, and that led to you working with Butch Walker on that show and then also on Good Times. So kind of your career has been pretty linear in some ways. Somebody like Fred Durst, you worked with him on Methods of Mayhem, and then he directed these 2 music videos. So it seems like you send out holiday cards and you're keeping in touch with people.
Yeah, I mean, there are, a lot of the collaborations are new, and I've gone back to some older friends because, like for Fred Durst, for instance, I sent him the record because he came to mind, because just shooting 2 videos also, one being that, Tops, which is more hip hop or a rappy kind of vibe, and Knock Me Down being super heavy. Fred is the only guy on the planet that I know that gets both of those. And I sent him the tracks, and he was like, "Oh, dude, these are fire. Let me at them. I can, this is right up my alley." So it was a perfect choice. He gets all of it.
And he did both the music videos on those albums
Yes.
that have come out. Was he just your first go-to, like, Fred's going to get the music, therefore he's going to get the visuals too?
Pretty much. I mean, nobody else came to mind. I don't know anybody. And Fred, being an artist, he understands where I'm coming from and what I'd like to convey. Picture-wise. So he was the first and only guy that I went to, and I knew we'd do some great stuff together,
And your name just always stays in the headlines for one reason or another. And Post Malone's song, Tommy Lee. When you recorded on that, did you know that the song was called Tommy Lee, or did he just say, "Hey, lay some grooves down on this"?
Well, I got to clear this up, because in another interview, I think there was some miscommunication. The song that just came out yesterday from Tyla and Post, I am not on that track. I am working on, and I will be done by, I think, Tuesday. I'm working on a remix of it, where I've put my flavors all over it and turned it into something really cool that I think everyone's going to dig. So I did not play on the original track that's out, or came out last night.
Okay.
Yeah. But I've played on Post Malone's previous album before,
right?
But not this track, not the Tommy Lee track in particular. But how rad is that, dude? Wow, that's like the ultimate, homage, or whatever.
That is the word. You picked the exact word there, homage, and you even did it without the H pronounced right there.
Yeah, homage, yeah, homage. It's so crazy, man. I'm honored, and I think that's just. I almost don't know what to say.
Thank you. Thank you. And where's my publishing?
Yeah, thanks, guys. That's super rad.
Well, you yourself as a writer, the first time I ever got a hint for you being electro-influenced was Planet Boom. What was the band that really hooked you into EDM or industrial music? Was it Ministry?
You know what? Several things. I mean, there's Ministry, The Prodigy, Nine Inch Nails. I could go on. As a drummer, from as long as I can remember, even as a little kid, listening to, rock and roll, from Zeppelin to the Gap Band. I mean, I just being a drummer, I'm always going to gravitate towards the beat. And if the beat is funky or if it's heavy, I'm all over it. So I've just been inspired at a young age by all kinds of genres of music. So for me, I know people trip out sometimes. They're like, "Yeah, but he plays drums in Motley Crue." But I'm really, really, really inspired and influenced by several genres of music. So, I gotta play with everything. You know what I mean? Why would I just do one thing? That become pretty boring, if you ask me.
Well, yeah, there's a rumor, or at least a line that's been attributed to you. I think it was in The Dirt, where you said that you wish that Motley Crue could have toured with cool bands like Husker Du and Iggy Pop. Is that true, or is that a misquoted thing?
No, that's true. We've always tried to turn our fans on to something new. I mean, I remember this was before anyone even knew who Guns N' Roses was.
Right.
People were out in the audience going like, "Who are these guys? they're kind of dope. You know what I mean? Like, I just I remember that. So we were trying to turn people on to what we thought was cool. We brought bands even from the other side of the genre, a band called Head PE, which is some serious, rap stuff. Jesus, we brought a DJ out on a tour to play, to turn people on to some new sound.
Brought Cheap Trick out.
Cheap Trick, which was, to me, probably one of the craziest days ever, sitting on the side of the stage watching Cheap Trick go on as our special guests, and I'm just sitting there going, I just never thought that day would ever come. Here's somebody who I've idolized forever. These guys like shaped me in many ways with their insane, beautiful, anthemic melodies and just their vibe and everything. And I'm watching these guys open up for us going, what is happening right now? Somebody pinch me, please.
Well, a thing that you just mentioned a minute ago, have you ever heard of the professional wrestler Diamond Dallas Page, DDP? It's okay if you haven't.
I can't say I have.
Okay, well, earlier today I was speaking with him, and I said, have you ever met Tommy? I'm speaking with him later today. And he goes, oh my God, this one time in Florida, this club I was running, he brought on Guns N' Roses, and we didn't know who they were. So it's that exact thing that you just talked about. I think you changed a lot of lives with that.
That's cool, man. I love that. An even better story that you might like is Nikki Sixx and I brought the guy responsible for signing Motley Crue. We brought him to the Roxy to come see this band called Guns N' Roses. And Nikki and I were like, dude, you gotta sign these guys. I'm telling you, they're gonna fucking blow up. Mm-hmm. And Tom passed on them, and Geffen signed him. And to this day, he's probably, still punching himself upside the head. Even, I don't know. We just, I feel like we have a good barometer on what people will dig, and I do that with my music. I think I've made a record that there's something for everybody on it. It's one of those where I'm like, oh, how could you not like this, man? If you're a girl, you're gonna love this. If you're a dude, you're gonna lose your mind. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know, man. And I'm a big fan of the underdog. There's so many talented people out there, bro, that may never see the light of day. And if I can be of some sort of platform for an artist out there that I think everyone should know about, God, let's go. Come on.
Right. It's been that way with you for a long time. Your studio records have always kind of brought up younger artists or hungry artists, and you've always welcomed co-writes. And at the same time, Smashing Pumpkins needed a drummer. Who should do it? Tommy Lee. He's there. But have you actually turned down a lot of things over the years? Because it sounds like you've said yes to most things out of nature.
Yeah. Well, the things you hear about, I've said yes to. But yeah, there's times where, I get asked all the time to play on people's records. And my first answer is, can I hear the track? Because it's real important to me to, if I'm going to bring something to the party, I gotta be into it. And if I'm not quite thinking like, man, I don't know if I can bring this up to, a certain level, or if it's just not there, it's not there. I graciously, bow out. But, and I do that when I collaborate with other artists. Like, for instance, one of the songs on the Andro record, it's called Make It Back. And this girl, Julia, who's in the group Playa, I sent her 2 tracks. And and I do this with a lot of people. I would never want to force something on somebody. Like, I really want you on this track. And kind of give them options. Like, what are you feeling? What's moving you? You know, because that's what I want. Is I want you to be moved by something, to be like, oh my God, I gotta get on this. So with her, I sent her several tracks, and she picked the one I thought that she would pick, and then I got an amazing performance out of her because she was into it. So I just think that's really important when you're collaborating. Also, is to let the person that you're, or the people that you're collaborating with, everybody's like, you know, they're into it, and it's not something that's forced, because nothing at the end of the day is going to come, good's going to come from that.
Right. I've heard you can get 10 different answers on this if you ask 10 different people. Do you let your wife hear the rough mixes and the demos, or do you just play her the finished goods?
Well, I mean, she's always around, so she hears it going down, and you know, I don't think, I can't recall her ever saying, "Oh, the demo was better." She you know, I can't recall that ever happening. I'm such a tweaker that I try to make that my goal is to obviously have the demo not even be considered. That's the end result, should be like, oh my God, this smokes the demo, you know? So far so good.
Now, one of the things that you're most famous for, musically speaking, is the drum sounds that you got on Dr. Feelgood. And without that, there's no Black Album from Metallica. Without no Black Album, there's no metal streaming, I guess we can say. Do you spend a lot of time still on getting tone?
Yeah, like just laid some drums down on this new Post Malone remix, that Tommy Lee track, and we spent 2 days making sure not only that the drums sound the best they can possibly sound, but do they sound right for the track? I mean, that's important, because you can sit there and spend weeks on a snare drum sound, but if it doesn't fit into the track, yeah, the snare drum sounds great, but is it musical? Does it sing in the track? You know, do the toms sing in the track?
Mm-hmm.
Are they tuned note-wise to the track? A lot of times you'll hear a bass drum and it just goes boom, but mm-hmm. does it go in the right key? And those things are so important, and those are overlooked by a lot of drummers, who are just going like, oh, I just want my drums to sound badass. Well, badass is cool, but is it musical? So I try to keep things as musical as possible, as well.
Yeah, of course. Your Bonham meets Alex Van Halen meets your own thing over the years. And you also, can I keep complimenting you, or do I have to stop? I can't gauge if you can take compliments.
You can keep them coming, man. I love it. I love it.
So you're one of the people that kind of made it cool to play piano within the hard rock genre. Growing up, kids don't want to play the piano. They want to play the guitar, but then they hear Home Sweet Home, and they hear some of the Motley Crue deep cuts, like is it You're All That I Need? Or
yeah, You're All I Need. Yep.
Yeah, they hear that stuff, they go, oh, someone cool plays piano, maybe I can too. Has anyone ever asked you to play piano on a record besides Motley Crue?
No, but yeah, because that's probably not primarily what I'm known for, but I have received some compliments, and one being from Axl Rose, which was amazing. He's a great guy, and for him to come out and say that when Tommy played piano during Home Sweet Home, that was my main inspiration for November Rain.
Wow.
Yeah, and
heard that.
When he said that, I was like, whoa, dude, that's really sweet. That's really cool, man. So technically, I've never played piano on, not that I know of. I'm trying to think now. Have I? I don't think so. But have received many compliments on it, and I think that's cool. And you're right. as a kid, this is funny because as a kid, you're taking piano lessons, and my parents were pretty strict about like, until you do your daily, you've got your exercises, your finger exercises and stretches and scales and all this shit that you got to do.
Right.
I wasn't really allowed to go out and wreak havoc with my friends until I was done. And it was just turned into this like, oh God, I gotta do this again. And at the moment, it just sounds like torture. And you're like, I just want to play drums. Like, this is piano. This is like, this sucks. But at the, there came a moment where, I thanked my parents. I'm like, I got to thank you guys for making me practice and be vigilant about, what it was that, I mean, I wanted to take piano lessons, but then it started to become really difficult, and it's a lot of work, but it's such a beautiful instrument. And I thank them later for being like, being firm with me on it, because it's an instrument I can walk up to at any time and either make somebody cry or make them happy. Like, it's such a powerful, beautiful instrument, man. I love the piano. Well, what more can I say about that? I think piano is maybe more so than guitar, a really cool instrument for a child learning music to start with.
Well,
yeah.
Bringing things in a totally different direction here. You were the first guest on Sammy Hagar's Traveling Rock Show, and we saw you cooking in the kitchen. Are you regularly a cook, or is it the kind of thing where you can cook one or two dishes to impress a lady and then you let that one lie?
No, man, I love to cook. I just saw Sammy a couple of days ago. He's doing really well. I love that guy. No, I love to cook, man. My Greek mother, she taught me a lot, and I love it. My father cooked also, not all the time. He would mostly cook like all the big holiday kind of dinners and stuff. But I love to cook, man. It's that, and maybe even more than cooking, I enjoy the time. It's like this weird quiet time of just like preparing and chopping and getting things ready and prepping and kind of tasting as you're going. That whole kind of ritual is really like I don't know, you just get to check out for a while. Does that make any sense?
That makes a lot of sense. My wife, who's gladly listening and nodding, gets the meditative purposes of cooking and all that, but that also sounds like the drummer kind of approach, where people don't know all the stuff that you're doing, but you take pride in what you're doing. And usually it's the drummer in the band who likes to drive the van and do the loadouts and tech their own stuff. Was that you in the early days?
Totally. The guy who's like, I don't know, holding down the fort, man. He's that guy.
And you mentioned your Greek heritage. And one of the things I was going to ask you later is, when's the last time you spoke Greek?
I went, not this summer, last summer, with a couple of friends, and we yachted around the Greek islands. So it was just last summer. And it's one of those things like, when my mother was alive, she would talk to me a lot in Greek, and that would kind of keep up my Greek chops.
Sure.
And if you like anything, if you don't do it a lot, you start to forget. But it's like a bike. Once you get back on it, you're like, oh, that's right. So I don't know. A few days into the Greek island trip, I was like, okay, that's right. I forgot you say that. It all starts to come back. But yeah, like a year ago or less. Yeah, last summer.
And is Greek cooking your specialty?
It's one of them. My mom taught me it's one of my favorite dishes, and it's the go-to dish when you're not feeling well. I guess it would be the American version of like a chicken soup or a matzo ball, kind of a soup. It's one when you're not feeling well. It's just one of those. It always makes you feel good. It's called avgola lemono, which means it's an egg and lemon soup, but with chicken and orzo. It's like looks like a little fatter rice. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Oh yeah. I've done my Greek food time. I mean, you live in New York. If you don't eat Greek food,
yeah,
New York.
then you know. Yeah. So that stuff. Of course, lamb souvlaki. You marinate that the day before. I have recipes from her that I've saved, that I still use today. So I love cooking, man. It's a cool indoor sport.
And I have to ask you then, is it gyro or gyro for the record?
It's gyro.
Okay, it's gyro. Tommy
says it's so funny when people call it a gyro. I know it's spelt like that, and that's phonetically not phonetically. Phonetically is what it sounds like. What it looks like is gyro, but it's like the G isn't pronounced with the J. It's like more like an H, gyro, right. Or right. E or an H, gyro.
And then also in the food space, one of the most infamous things about you is that MTV Cribs where you showed that you had a Starbucks in your home. Is that still in effect? Are you still a franchisee?
Of course it's still here. I just switched over because I'm drinking. This is actually, it's kind of my new jam. I just found out about these. I learned about it on the golf course. It's called a transfusion. It's ginger ale with a little splash of grape juice. That's like a virgin transfusion. A real one would have vodka in it, but this is a virgin. And so I just switched over. I've had a couple of cappuccinos this morning, but yes, Starbucks it's actually right next to the studio door. It's right outside the studio.
Were you the only celebrity endorsee to ever get that? Because I don't think I've ever read about anyone else having that.
It was a weird thing. I remember I lived up in Malibu at the top of Mulholland, and like to go down to Starbucks is literally like a 20-minute trek down to Starbucks and 20 minutes back. It's like a 40-minute run to go get a freaking coffee. And I think I was just complaining one day because I was tired of doing that. And I was just complaining one day to my accountant. I was like, God, man, I would just kill if there was a Starbucks that was closer, or if I had one in my house. I was just like bullshitting, really. And he goes, oh, well, I represent, several of the Starbucks chains. And I was like, what? He goes, well, let me make some phone calls and see if I can just get the people that actually do the installs with the machinery. I don't want to open up a Starbucks at my house, but to get the machinery and everything in. He made a couple of calls and boom, they came over and installed the machines, the grinders, the pump, the flavors, you name it, the whole deal. And they brought me like the green Starbucks apron and shit. And I was like, it's legit Starbucks downstairs here. It's crazy.
All I can say to that is just, wow. The apron, I'd never seen photos of that, but that should be in a music video eventually.
Yeah, I usually don't wear the apron, but it's fun to have.
Well, a bunch of random questions here, being respectful of your time, because again, when you say I'm talking to Tommy, everyone in the world's a Motley Crue fan, whether or not they admit it outright. So first thing is, how many WrestleManias have you attended?
How many WrestleManias?
Yes.
Well, one we played. And as far as attending it and being there live, I think that's the only time was when we played. The rest of the time I'm attending, but watching it from television,
Okay, now we talked before about how you speak Greek and you pick it up and all that. Now, David Lee Roth recorded a whole album in Spanish. He recorded Eat 'em and Smile in Spanish as Sonrisa Salvaje.
I heard about that, and I think that's so cool. I was really impressed by that. That's how cool is that?
Well, will we ever see a Greek language recording from you?
Whoa. That's interesting. That would be cool. That's interesting. I mean, I never thought about doing that, but why not? Shit, why not? Maybe. Okay. You never know. You never know.
You heard it first.
Yeah.
Another thing that's awesome about you is that your athletic background, a lot of it comes from ballet. Did ballet have a big correlation to your drumming and the discipline involved in being physical but mental at the same time?
More so tap dancing, because that's super, super rhythmic. I guess ballet, I think one of the reasons I chose ballet, which what could possibly be wrong with dancing with girls, right? I guess I just wasn't one of those guys who, was like a sports guy and hanging out with dudes in the locker room. Like I preferred, and trust me, I got a lot of shit,
right,
by my peers for taking tap and ballet. And so much peer pressure at a young age like that, it made me quit. Cause there was a picture in the local paper at a dance recital, and here I am in my tights, but I'm with this beautiful girl, and I remember going to school the next day, and these people are going, like, "Dude, what are you, a fag?" And I was like, "That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard." Hold on. If we're talking about fags, you're playing football, spanking each other on the ass. I think there's some confusion here, fellas. And not that that's gay, but I'm just, you know what I'm saying? Like that. And I got so much pressure that I just said, fuck it. I quit.
Well, it's come out that Mick Jagger learned his breathing exercises from ballet, and Kip Winger, I've heard similar things. Have other people confided in you like, hey man, I did ballet too?
You know what? A few people have, and more so I've read a ton of running backs in football take ballet for agility and speed and finesse and moves, and that, it didn't surprise me, but it surprised me that they would be public about that. You'd think they would get, like I got, flack for it, but apparently those guys don't give a shit, which is cool.
Totally. And there is two quick questions, and then you're a free man. The first one is, there's a player in the New Orleans Saints named Tommy Lee Lewis. First name is Tommy Lee. Has that hit your radar at all?
I've seen that, and that's so rad. I'm like, no way, look at that. That's cool. I love it.
Exactly. Okay, cool, man. So in closing, any last words for the kids?
For the kids, man, hang in there. We're going through some crazy times. The Buddhists would say nothing is forever. What else, man? I hope y'all enjoy the record that I made, because I made it for myself and I made it for you guys, and I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you stay safe, happy, healthy, and I will see you next summer right around this time in a stadium near you.
Exactly. Hope to see that. Hope to see Andro on tour. Thank you so much for your time and the decades of great music, Tommy.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Tommy.
Paltrocast.